Hey Rock Youth, thanks for joining us again for our Teen Talk. Today we're going to take moments and talk about Exodus 14, 16, and 17 and look at the complaining that the Israelites do and how they are being tested by God and do they prove faithful in the end. Well, so we got in today, and we are in Exodus 14, 16, 17. We skipped 15. You can go ahead and read it as well. It is a song that Moses writes to God.
Praise.
Of praise from
worship.
Yeah, their deliverance and everything from Egypt. So feel free to do that, but we wanted to kind of stick with the story context because, again, we're building the picture from the beginning of time, the first Passover, all the way pointing to the cross and Jesus being the final Passover lamb, right?
Yes.
And so here we are in Exodus 14, kind of give the backstory again of where we're at, so if they haven't watched what's going on.
So if you guys have noticed in the past days, we saw God literally pull them out of Egypt with all the plagues. He's hardened Pharaoh's heart, and now here we are. They've
It's okay. We can.
Let me restart that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We can re-go. So.
Hold on. Plundered. Okay.
Yeah, just naturally tell the story, okay?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's go.
Well, today we start in Exodus 14, 16, and 17, and we're here I know we skipped 15, but we don't have to skip it. You can go ahead and read it. It's a song that Moses writes about the deliverance of the Israelites and just praising God. And so feel free to go and read that, but we want to stick with the story as we talk about the fact that the Israelites are a picture of the Passover.
Right.
Just yesterday we talked about the first Passover, when the lamb was shown as a symbol of who Jesus is to be. And we're going to continue to point that direction the next couple of weeks. And so here we are with the Israelites. They have gone through the Passover, but can you kind of keep us up to date with what's happened and where we're going?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, God, He has pulled everybody. He had all these plagues on Egypt. We discussed that over the last few days.
Yeah.
And He's pulled the people out of Egypt, like literally has pulled them out of slavery, allowed them to even plunder the Egyptians, and now here they are on their way, equipped for battle, ready to roll. They're out in the wilderness, and they're completely out of the Egyptian rule. But Pharaoh's heart gets hardened again, and he ends up coming after the Israelites.
Right, and if you didn't get to watch that, we did talk about Pharaoh hardening his heart and how it got him to this place. And so feel free to go back and watch that one as well, because it's very interesting to see that he hardens the heart again. Mm-hmm. And now what's he doing? Now that his heart is hardened, what's he doing to the Israelites?
Yep, now he's going to come after the Israelites. He's going to bring 600 chariots. He's going to come and race after them, and he wants to bring them back. And so now the Israelites are going through this journey, and they're about to come up to the Red Sea.
Right, and so can you imagine that God has saved them, after the 10 plagues. You got all these things, these miracles that God has done. God has saved them and then brought them out, and they've got water on one side and they have 600 chariots rushing down the mountain on the other side. How that would make you feel. Like you've been brought out into the desert by God, and now this army is coming after you.
Oh, they're terrified.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, the point, 14 verse 10, if you guys haven't read, go ahead and pause this video right now, go read the Bible, and then come back and watch this. But it says, as Pharaoh approached, the people of Israel, this is verse 10 of chapter 14, as Pharaoh approached, people of Israel looked up and panicked when they saw the Egyptians overtaking them. And they cried out to the Lord, and they said to Moses, why did you bring us out here to die in the wilderness? And so I could be there with them, seeing God deliver you, but then looking at the life circumstance and going, we're about to die.
Right, they see God move in this crazy way with all these plagues, and then
And like, yeah, we're going to serve
This
the
is
Lord.
it. Yeah.
We're going to follow him. Yeah, go Moses.
Come up to the water further, like, it's over for us.
Right. And what we see actually in these chapters is that back and forth. And so they see the power of God happen, and then they turn back.
They immediately lose their faith.
Right.
With every trial that comes at them, they seem to lose their faith.
Right. And the one thing, I guess the consistent thing that you would see in someone who does this is maybe they have like a spiritual high. They have this moment. I mean, they literally saw the 10 plagues happen. They saw God kill all the firstborn in the middle of the night with nothing. Just the Spirit of God took the life out of people in the middle of the night because they didn't do the ceremony that God said, and they didn't put the blood over the doorposts. Yeah, and so God literally sucked the life out of people. And they saw that happen, and they're still more terrified of 600 chariots coming after them.
Right.
And so, but what you see is they've lost sight of the prize, We see in Hebrews, it says to, Hebrews 12:2, I think, it says to fix their eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. Mm-hmm. And I don't see them fixing their eyes on Jesus right here.
No, not at all.
But at the same time, I can relate with them. I think of moments in my life. I think I talked about one of the last few episodes of this, just struggling in ministry and, lost my job in ministry and stuff, and felt like God called me to this place to do ministry, and it all fell apart, And I remember being in this spot right here, saying, God, why'd you bring me here? Why'd you call me here?
Yeah, why'd you bring me to this waterfront, and what are you going to do?
Yeah. But what we see, actually, if you turn over, let's see, where is it? In chapter 16, you see he's doing another thing, another miracle for them. After he saves them, brings them through the Red Sea, and kills all the Egyptians, which
is crazy in itself. You definitely got to read that chapter. If you've never read that chapter, please read that chapter, because it's just to put yourself in that whole situation is absolutely
they come to the edge. The chariots are coming. Moses holds God's staff out over the water, and they walk through on dry land. And then as soon as they step on the other side, Moses holds his hand out over the sea again, and it destroys all the Egyptians and their chariots in the water. Like, they see the power of God yet again in such a crazy miracle way, And now it's a little while longer, and they're
marching through the desert.
And they're complaining again.
Hey, Moses,
we don't have any food.
Where's our food at?
Yeah, we need something to eat. So then God provides, and then this is what I was pointing to. In verse number 4 of chapter 16, it says, I will test them to see whether or not they will follow my instructions. That is what God is doing every single day, to all of us, is to see, are we going to follow his instructions? Not the way we think is best, but the way he thinks is best, the way he knows is best for us. And so, like talking about that situation in ministry when it all fell apart, and I'm sitting there on my knees saying, God, like, why did you do this? Why did you bring me here? It was a test to see if I'd follow him in everything. And before that moment, I would have said, yes, I would.
Well, that's how we feel after every time we see God work in an incredible way. And then you come down off that high, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in this hole.
Yeah.
Similar to, we can all relate to this. You look at these stories and you look at them, grumbling at Moses every time with the bread, the food, and then with the water. It comes on in the next chapter with the water. We want water. It's like one thing after another. But are we really that different from this?
No. And I think about that moment because I was pursuing ministry and I had a degree and I was like serving in churches and, I loved God. And then I was put to the test. Like, what if I, kind of like Job, what if I take it all away? I can even remember when I was a teenager, the song, Blessed Be the Name, came out. You know that song? And it says in there, it's quoting Job, but it says, the Lord gives and takes away. you know? And I had sang that song 1,000 times and believed it in my own heart. And then when he took away, it was like,
Right.
whew, you know, I thought you were with me, Lord. I am, you know.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm always here with you.
Have you ever experienced something like that in your life?
Oh,
You
many
know?
times. The one thing that's coming to my mind right now would be, and I've told you the story about one of my trucks that I purchased. Like
Oh, yeah.
This is early on when we started these businesses, and I bought this truck. I love this truck. I was so proud of it, and I paid an unbelievable amount of interest on it, more than I probably paid double for the truck, really.
Yeah.
But it came to the day where I paid it off, and I framed the certificate that said it was paid off, like the lien release. And that night, somebody T-boned me and it got totaled.
Yeah.
So, but I remember thinking in that moment, like, I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm really been blessed here. And no, it was not a blessing at all.
Right, right. And we're going to get there in a couple days' time, you know, as we're reading the Ten Commandments. But it's like you made an idol before God, and he had to rip it out of your life.
Oh, tore it down.
So you so you wouldn't worship it,
Right.
rather than him. And that's what's happening here is while they didn't enjoy slavery, they also don't enjoy not knowing the direction that God is calling them to go and what he wants them to do and how he wants to use them. They're not looking, as all of us do, they're not looking to us today. You know, God was looking for all creation for all time and the benefit that he was going to provide in using them to save, you know, all of us.
Right.
Because he was going to bring the real Passover lamb through their lineage, you know.
Absolutely.
And so they're literally in the moment going, we're hungry. They're not going, what about 2020?
Yeah, what about the future? What about the lineage that's supposed to be carried on through us?
Yeah, yeah. And so I think about just the providence and the provision of the Lord and what he does for us. In this moment when he's doing this in the Israelites, he has in mind me today, right now. And the Israelites, all they have in mind is, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. And all they do is they go and complain to Moses, complain to the Lord. And the whole time it's just, I will test them to see whether they will follow my instructions or not. You know, and because of that, verse 7 of 17, it says, Moses named the place Massa, which means test, and Meribah, which means arguing, because the people of Israel argued with Moses and tested the Lord, saying, is the Lord here with us or not? And so he puts that reminder, like, you know, we live in Fenton, and what does the word Fenton even mean? I don't know. Is there a meaning to it?
I have no clue.
Yeah, exactly. But their places had meaning, you know. You'd be like, oh yeah, this is a reminder. Oh yeah, this is where you tested the Lord. Oh yeah, this is where you argued with the Lord. It's
So every time they go past it or they're by it, they can remember.
Yeah.
As a test of time.
And there are people in the Bible, was it Hosea?
Yeah.
Names all of his kids like terrible names. And I can't remember
that's
them.
right.
I can't remember them all right off the top of my head, but he names them all these terrible names, but it's all representative of who the Israelites are, because that's Hosea's job, you know.
Same thing with Isaiah. He names a couple of his kids to represent signs.
Yeah.
Like you'll read on that.
Yeah. And so at the same time, I think about you guys. I think about where you're at in life and the things that you're struggling with, and the fact that God is testing you. We see, if you want to see how Satan works and you want to see how God works, turning over to Job 1 and seeing how Satan is constantly going before the Lord saying, look at this servant. They only serve you because you bless them. And God says, no, go ahead. Now, God is still in control and only lets Satan do what God knows you can handle. But if God is testing you right now, it is because he believes that you're strong enough and faithful enough to follow and serve him. But we have to lean on his word. We have to fix our eyes on Jesus and not on our situation, which for a lot of us right now, situation's tough.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, and so if that's something you're struggling with, you need help with, we're here for you. We'd love to help you. We'd love to point you to scriptures that maybe would give you wisdom and direction on how to fix your eyes on Jesus and whatever your situation is. And so if you would reach out to us, let us know, and then just continue. We're going to continue to talk about the scriptures together every day. Join us every day at 3 and connect with us as we continue through the reading plan. If you don't already have it, you can like us and follow us and everything on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube as well, and stay up to date with what we're doing here and get the reading plan. Or you can download the Rock Church Fenton app and get the reading plan there as well, as we're just going to sit here and continue to talk about it. So thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you tomorrow.